Well, the House approving a bill to prevent the government from shutting down at the end of the month, but we aren't out of the woods yet, not by a long shot. It's now up to the Senate. Here to weigh in, Republican Congressman James Lankford of Oklahoma. Congressman, welcome back to the show. You know, you must be the only person on Capitol Hill working today.
Actually, the folks in the Capitol, the House, and the Senate side are working, but the rest of the streets are vacant today.
Really?
As the federal government was shut down over. There were probably 30 or 40 snowflakes that came down today at one point. So it was pretty vicious.
Yeah, I'm amazed you can even find yourself capable of talking after all that pressure. I guess you guys don't have any snow removal equipment, so I won't be too cruel.
It's rain. All we had all day was rain, so we had a few snowflakes. None of them stuck. So.
Well, let's get down to business here. This House bill that now goes in front of the Senate, $982 billion. What will the Senate do with it, in your view?
Our hope is they're going to take it up. Typically, the Senate, if they're going to just fight it like crazy, they make a scene about it before we ever pass it and say, don't pass this, because they won't take it up. They were strangely quiet about it through this process. The White House as well came out and did their standard shtick, which was, you know, we want a big deal, we want a big proposal, we want to raise taxes, but didn't oppose it as well. So our hope is that we've actually come to an agreement here. This gives more flexibility to defense, to military construction, and to veterans, and it lays out for the rest of government a plan to be able to fund us through the end of the fiscal year. Well, so it also reprograms some of the money to give some flexibility in sequestration, but keeps the numbers still low.
Well, we've got a long way to go, but, you know, I know everybody's hopeful that something can be done. In fact, the president is meeting with Senate Republicans first. That's tonight for dinner for those few hardy souls that stayed in Washington, and then next week with House Republicans. Do you think you're going to find some common ground there? I mean, there's so many, frankly, heavy criticism of the president for not really trying to negotiate with people, only coming to loggerheads. How do you think that will go?
We'll see. We did one large meeting in 2011 as well, where all the House members came to the White House and did one meeting for an hour. It was fine as a conversation. Obviously, you can't do much with 240 people and one person responding. It became basically a town hall for the president, for him to tell us what his ideas were, and we'll see what it is again. It's the right thing for the White House, the House, and the Senate to have some conversations. I wish that would have happened during sequestration. It never did until actually the day that sequestration was implemented was the first time the White House actually visit. The rest of the time, the president just flew around the country and campaigned against us, but never actually sat down to visit. So we've got to have real conversations.
Maybe this can be different. I want to ask you about your bill. You want to create a mechanism whereby government cannot go unfunded. How would that work?
We have all these fights about the government shutdowns, and it's been this constant thing for the last 20 or so years. We're going to get to the edge, and the government will shut down. It destabilizes our economy. It makes it very uncertain. Obviously, it affects federal workers and their families, but everyone else who has any nexus with the federal government, it's very unsettling, and to our economy as a whole. So I've got a bill that's called the Government Shutdown Prevention Act, that if we get to the point where we should have already passed a continuing resolution or appropriations bills, if we haven't done it there, an automatic extension will happen on the continuing resolution, but it reduces total government spending by 1%. And it does that for 3 months. And if we don't get it done in the next 3 months, there's another 1% reduction. So it's an incentive. All the agencies will start screaming, saying we don't want our budget cuts. We need to do our job and actually get a real budget proposal.
I know.
They want to see that as well, but I want the default to go down.
My preferred methodology is we go back to the old-fashioned way, and there's actually a budget that comes out of the Senate that gets debated and everybody weighs in on. But I realize that's just not happening now. Congressman Lankford.
The best way to do it. This is an emergency backup. The best way to do it is actually to get a budget again from the House and the Senate. Since the Senate hasn't passed one in 4 years, makes it a little tough.
Congressman, thanks for coming on tonight. Be careful out there. You know, you might get another snowflake. You don't know. Good luck.
Well, I'll watch for it. Thanks.
All right.